if you build US credit, then that gives you access to the whole entire sphere of American credit. And that includes loans, business credit, the travel credit cards, everything that's going to make your life easier. And so in this video, I'm basically going to break down how you can build your US personal credit as a non-US citizen. If you don't have these credit cards, you are missing out on travel perks. And specifically, most likely, you are spending money on ads. You're spending money on your business. And so while you spend money on your company, you should be generating points that will facilitate your lifestyle. Those are some of the pains that you will feel if you're a non-US business owner. And so treat building US credit as a one and done type thing, that when you build it, then you get access to all of these different kinds of perks. And if you do decide to build a new company, then you have that credit to back up that company if you want to raise funds. And by the way, I've broken down in other videos why American credit is better than any other system. So if you want to learn about that on why America is better than any other system and why it actually makes sense if you're a non-US business owner, then you can subscribe to my channel and you can take a look at the videos. So how to build US credit as a non-US business owner. The first step is actually getting your accounts open. So that includes bank accounts, the big 5 banks, because specifically, if you want to actually maximize personal credit in the USA, you're going to need some Chase bank accounts, Bank of America bank accounts, Wells Fargo bank accounts. And one of the only ways to do that is to travel to the US. If you've got strong banking connections, you can most likely do that not by traveling to the USA. But let me talk about the actual sequential sequence which you're going to need to follow. First thing that you need in order to actually start the process as a non-US citizen is you need a ITIN. The ITIN is a waiting time about 6 weeks to 12 weeks, where essentially that ITIN is your tax identification number that is basically the replacement of your SSN. So a lot of people like to say that you need an SSN to get a US credit card, but no, you can either use your ITIN or your SSN. And for the ITIN, that is for the non-US citizens. Once you have that ITIN, you need to go and get your hands on a personal bank account, because in order to actually go and get a credit card, you're gonna need to be able to actually have money inside of the US system. So you need to have a personal bank account. Now, luckily, I've actually broken down the best personal bank accounts that you can open right now completely remotely, and you can see that video. I'll link it up below. So once you have your ITIN, you have your personal bank accounts, and you probably have a corporate structure depending on how far you want to go. Now it is about opening up your first personal credit card. There are 2 types of credit cards. There's a secured credit card and there's an unsecured credit card. In order to advance the odds of you getting access to that first US credit card, the first thing that you want to do is build a solid relationship with the bank. You build a strong relationship with that bank by actually depositing money into your personal account. So if you drop in $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 in your US bank account, that strengthens your relationship. And if you do decide to open up a credit card, then the likeliness of them accepting your application is actually increased by quite a lot. And so someone might ask, what are the credit cards that you, JP, would recommend to open? Well, first thing that I would recommend you to do is consider opening up secured credit cards, because a secured credit card allows you to determine your actual available credit. So your credit score is based on a few different factors: your credit age, your payment history, the amount of credit that you've got, and your credit utilization ratio. And again, remember, we are doing this process in less than a year's time. Most people, in order to build US credit, it would take them 3+ years in order to actually build US credit. So this video is extremely valuable, by the way. But pretty much what you want to do if you want to fast track that process is do a few things. You want to get a few trade lines, and trade lines is credit accounts. And those credit accounts should include 1, a secured credit card, and at least put between $2,000 to $5,000 on that secured credit card. And basically that card is essentially, you put money down on pretty much a prepaid debit card, and essentially you'll use that debit card in order to build your credit with that actual card. And once you have that card, you're building your credit score, you're building your credit history. And so once you do that, I would recommend you to do a few things. 1, you can open up a few other trade lines, such as apply for an unsecured credit card. And if they accept your credit card application, then you're going to need to use that credit card and actually pay those bills on time so that you can build a solid reputation with those banks. Another thing that you can do to build your credit inside of the USA is add a few other trade lines, such as authorized users. And that pretty much means that you are authorized to use someone else's credit card, and through that, you actually inherit all of their positive payment history. So for example, if you've got a friend in the USA, you've got parents in the USA, and they've been using a credit card for the last 10 years, they have positive payment history, they have high credit utilization ratio. What you want to do is you want to add yourself as an authorized user on their account, and by doing that, you add that credit account on on your personal credit. And through that usually boosts your credit and adds positive payment history and adds positive items on your actual credit. So that's one way that you can boost your credit score. Another thing that you can do to build your credit in the US is do something called rent reporting. And so rent reporting basically means that you're adding rental payments on your credit profile, and that is pretty much a backdated trade line that proves that you've been paying your bills on time for a very long extended period of time. Now, some people might ask, do I need to be paying rent inside of the USA? No, you do not. There are some circumstances which you can get away with it, but I'm not going to talk about that inside of this video. And that is one trade line that I would recommend you to open. So far you've got a secured credit card, you've got an unsecured credit card, and you've got a few other trade lines such as the rental reporting as well as the authorized user. At this point, you want to aim for 5 trade lines. So that could be 3 credit cards and maybe 2 other types of trade lines. And through that, you want to allow it some time to use those cards, right? So you want to use those US cards and actually build payment history with those cards. At that point, 6 months into that process, then you can go and apply to those premium US credit cards. You don't want to go and apply to an Amex Platinum immediately. You want to take your time with that because then you're going to maximize the sign-up bonuses, you're going to maximize the perks that you get, and also you're probably going to be approved if you apply when you have a strong credit profile. And so pretty much it's once you reach a 720 credit score that you can actually go and open up business credit cards and open up the best premium travel credit cards that you can find inside of the US. Now, here's one thing about personal credit is that the reason why I said you can get your business credit cards after you build your personal credit is because your business credit is based on your personal credit. So if you don't really care about funding, business credit, all that stuff, you can skip this part. But if you really want to get access to funding, business credit, 0% interest, you're going to need to build your personal credit. And once you reach a 720 credit score, then you can get really good business credit cards. So the last thing that someone might ask if they're a non-US citizen and they're trying to build US personal credit is, how can I keep track of my US credit? If you want to track your credit and you've got an ITI and you don't have an SSN, use this website, which by the way, I'm not affiliated with them. That is one, myfreecreditscore.com. And the second thing that you can do in order to track your personal credit is actually inside of your personal bank accounts, they will actually give you access to check your credit in some of the bank accounts, by the way. I cannot emphasize how important and how valuable it is as a non-US citizen to build US personal credit, because once you get that, again, as I said many different times, you get access to business credit, the best travel credit cards, 70 to 90% off traveling, hotels, all that stuff. And it just puts you in a place of advantage versus all of your non-US competitors, or puts you at the same odds as other American business owners. So if you enjoyed this video and you're a non-US business owner looking to take the next step inside of your US credit journey, make sure to check our links down below and see if we can help you out with your personal credit journey. I'll see you in the next one.